I was talking to a friend yesterday and he asked me about StarCraft because he was playing it. And he was talking about APM, which is the actions per minute. Now, when I used to play it, which was from 1998, which was StarCraft 1, all the way through, I played it until 2016, so that was 18 years, and I played it a little bit up until 2018, and then almost none after that, so I played it for about 20 years, and my favorite to play as was the Protoss. And I liked the ability to warp in units and all that cool stuff, and put the pylons down, and then put down photon cannons, and then they have what's called cannon rushing, which is you build a pylon once you've got the minerals. I think it's 100 minerals, if I remember that right. I think it was a different amount in StarCraft 1, I believe it was. But you put down the pylon, and then you've get your minerals for the photon cannon, which is I think 150 minerals. You place that up there, and then once you've done that, you want it. The easiest way to do this, if you're not at your base, is to put this at the ramp of the other player or the AI, and you can do what's called a cannon rush. You put one down, and they can't escape or go anywhere. They're kind of stuck. And so then they're pretty much resource locked. They can't escape and go anywhere else. And so then what you can do is eventually they run out of resources. And then if you haven't beaten them yet, you can just go to a new base and build more resources and keep putting photon cannons everywhere. But I think if you were playing against maybe a Terran player, they could just lift, because their building's going to lift, they could just lift their command center and move it to another area, and then you will have a harder time getting to them. There were some funny games that I remember playing when I would play online at StarCraft 1 and 2, where I would just lift my main building to a different area, and the other player would go to the area where they thought I was going to be, and I wasn't there no more. And I had a different base, and they were so confused, and I would end up winning doing that. But if another person knew that you were cannon rushing, then you couldn't win. Or when you were playing as Zerg, doing what I think it was called a 6-pool, like Zergling rush, and you would wait until you had to supply to build 12 Zerglings. If when you click on it, and what was called the hatchery, which is the building in the game that has the larva, which hatches the Zerglings, 6 of those larvae that hatch, each of them has 2, so you get 12 Zerglings, and then you can just rush the player or the AI and quickly win a match that way. And I'm thinking about maybe practicing it a little bit in a week or something, because I was going to try to play online against one of his friends just to kind of see how I do, but I haven't played at all in a while. It's been a couple years since I've even put any effort into the game, because I've been doing a lot of drawing, focusing on drawing, getting better at that, and video editing and all the other stuff. And we'll see how I do. I don't even know what my APM will be. Hopefully it's not horrible. I mean, actions per minute isn't everything, because you can be typing everywhere really fast but not really doing anything. So you obviously want to have some kind of a plan when you're playing. But we'll see how I do with that. As far as other games, I haven't really played any video games. I mean, I did play RuneScape for a long time. Probably the same amount of time as I did when I played StarCraft. And I think I put more. I put more time in it when I played RuneScape. I played World of Warcraft for a short time, but I didn't like everything was so group involved. I mean, with teams and stuff, I preferred playing games by myself, or adventure games like the old Zelda games, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, The Wind Waker, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. All those really nostalgic games, like the what was the one that was for the Nintendo, the original Nintendo. You had the big giant cartridge. It was like the size of a pizza box. Well, not that big, but it was like the size of a big brick. And you would just put that into the top of the console and play it. And you always had to like blow air into the cartridge to get dirt out. I always had issues with those playing properly. And same for the Nintendo 64. And I remember playing Zelda all the time on it. It was the old one for like Nintendo. I think it came out in 1987. So that's like 33 years ago now, going on 34. And I remember it was the one word that made the graphics are like they're not 3D or anything until like I don't think there was any 3D Zelda games that I remember until Nintendo 64, which was Ocarina of Time. And there might have been one before that I might be forgetting, but I don't really remember any myself that were 3D. Everything else was two-dimensional. And but Ocarina of Time was a fun game. I always really enjoyed those adventure games. I didn't know what was going to happen next. And now I just don't really get time for it. And plus, the amount of time I got to put into it to like level up or to get anywhere, to do anything. I'm just like, man, I do not have the time for that. Like if you have to do some kind of dungeon or something, and like let's say World of Warcraft, for example, it could take like an hour or two or something to get through it and beat a boss. I don't have the time to sit here for 2 hours, only doing that without interruption, because I'm going to get hungry or thirsty or have to check something or a phone call or email or something's going to happen. So, yeah, that's not really going to work out. But, yeah, I haven't really done any gaming. But as far as StarCraft, I mean, that was always a fun game. And StarCraft 1, that came out in 1998. StarCraft 2, that came out in 2010. And that was 11 years ago. And I remember going into the store, buying the game, and I was really excited for it. I mean, it was awesome. I enjoyed playing it, but that was already 10 years ago. And the time between the first one to the StarCraft 2, that was 12 years. So maybe they're due for another one next year, I think. Because it's 12 years later, which would be, I think, 2018 would have been a 20-year anniversary of StarCraft. And 2028 will be a 30-year anniversary. I'll be 38 years old. I was 8 years old when the game came out. I can't remember what time of the year the game came out, so it might have been 7 because my birthday's in October. So I was 7 or 8 when the game came out. StarCraft 1. And I remember playing with Protoss, and I'd always click on the units over and over to try and see what they would say, or click them all over the place. And I remember when you would play as the Protoss, the Dragoons were so annoying. The path controls for them, because they took up so much space, and you would try to click somewhere, they wouldn't go over there, they wouldn't move in that location, and it was annoying. And then I think the Zealots were kind of the same. You had to do a lot of micromanagement with a lot of those Protoss units. They were more expensive, like in StarCraft 2. The units cost more, but each unit has more capabilities or is more powerful than, like, say, for example, a Zergling unit. Most Zerg units are weaker on average, but they take up less supply, so you can build more of them. And Terran's kind of like in the middle. They're like, what's it called, like bio or mech. And then Protoss is like this futuristic, somewhat teleporting, depending on what you're doing. I mean, if you have like a pylon, you get like some upgrade, you can just warp any unit at a location where the pylon is from a gateway. I almost said Stargate. I'm pretty sure Stargate is the one that was for building air units. As you can tell, it's been a while since I played it, but I think I had not even logged into the game in 2 years. Um, or maybe, well, it's been probably a year, but I'm pretty sure Stargate was the building that you use for like building aircraft units, like the old StarCraft 1. You had the Corsair, which was not in StarCraft 2, unless they made some updates to it or something recently. But I'd always make a whole bunch of Corsairs, and then what was the other one? It like would shoot missiles, or like it. I don't think it was missiles. It was like I think it's called a scout. I'm pretty sure it was a scout as an air unit. So that like the favorite unit of all of mine, the Protoss, was Archon. I would just mass build a bunch of those. It took up so much supply, and so you had like the Zealot, the Dragoon, the Archon, the Dark Templar, the High Templar, like the Probe, which was the building unit for stuff. You had the Scout, you had the Corsair, you had the Carrier. I remember every time a carrier would be built, like the first one I built, it would say Carrier Online. It would come out, and you build all those little interceptors. And I remember like getting the upgrades to where I could build them faster and they would move quicker. And those were really fun to mass produce a bunch of carriers and just launch them at another base. It kind of overwhelmed the enemy. Especially like if you're playing against a person, they could beat the carriers a lot easier. But if it was an AI, the AI would just target the interceptors and just keep rebuilding them. Eventually, they would just lose. So if you just like mass launched all the interceptors, you could like take out a building like instantaneously, and then move on to the next base and then win that way. But the problem is the cost. I think it was 6 or 8 supply for a carrier, and I think Archons were. I know there were at least 4. There might have been 4 or 6. And then in the new StarCraft 2, I remember playing like the Colossus, and that one's shoots these like giant laser beams of like fire, and they can walk like from one level to the second level of cliffs, but they're weak to air units. And then there's the Dark Templar. If somebody doesn't have detection, you can pretty much, like if you can rush somebody with Dark Templar and they have no detection, you can pretty much just win, hands down. And then, what are some other Protoss units? I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. I'm just trying to remember. As far as, the old one, the new one. Oh, you got the, what's it called? Well, with the Dark Templar, like if you have two Dark Templar or 2 High Templars, you can make an Archon. Now, I think you can have a Dark Templar and a High Templar to make an Archon. Pretty sure you can. I haven't done that in a StarCraft game with the High Templar and a Dark Templar since like StarCraft 2 back in like 2011 or something. So it was a long time. But last time I did play it was after the release of the last version of the game, or the third one for the Protoss, and it's been about a year since I've even logged into the game. But I'll try and practice, see what my skill level is of the game, and see if I have any chance of beating the AI on the highest difficulty. I think it goes from very easy, and then like medium, and then hard, very hard, and then brutal. Or like, I think it's insane. I think it's brutal is the difficulty name. But there's varying ranges of difficulty. I'll probably start out on like normal. I'll probably win pretty easily. Then I'll have to go to hard, very hard, and then move up. But there is a huge difference in difficulty I've noticed in that game between very hard and brutal difficulty. It's like going from very hard to brutal seems like going from very easy to hard. And I noticed that when you click a unit, like if I click away, they come towards me. It's instantaneously, as soon as I click towards them, their units move. So it's like the computer AI knows exactly your clicks. So it's kind of unfair. But we'll see how I do. But I'm gonna work on some more doodling, get myself something to eat, and I'm kind of thirsty. I'm gonna drink some milk, and then have myself some food, and then do some stretching. Stretch my hands and my back, and my neck, and everything before I do some doodling, so I'm not all tense. And I will go work on that. So let me know if you got any questions about that. Any stories you want me to talk about, anything, any topic, philosophy, random stories in my past, doodles, you name it, you pick it, I'll talk about it. So you all have a great day, and I will talk to you later.